Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Juanita Skillman here, who's going to give us our GRF update. Well, welcome, Juanita. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Of course, we always see you on the Trading Post, so you're
this is very good. I just wait around and do the Trading Post next.
That's right. So you can actually relax after you've been doing this. But all right, so you've got an update about some things that happened at the meeting last week.
Right. GRF had their board meeting, and it was a very short board meeting, as board meetings go. Only a couple hours, which is wonderful. We all loved it. But we got a lot done anyway. Let's see, I think we have some slides showing you. First of all, we're going to start with EV charging. Okay. In the member comments, and we always at the beginning of the meeting invite any residents who have issues, questions, whatever, to come and talk to us, hopefully in person, but could be via Zoom, or they send in an email or call in a question. Mm-hmm. And we're always there to try to take their questions. We try to answer them when we can. Sometimes we have to do some research and we tell them we'll get back to them. Okay. But the most common question this week was on EV chargers. Mm-hmm. We want EV chargers. Why can't we have them in our carports particularly? Sure. And it's, first of all, not a GRF question for the most part. If you want it in your garage or your carport, that's a mutual question. And it's very expensive, and we don't have the electrical power to do it in most of our
like the common areas, right? Oh, okay.
Well, in the carports.
Oh, in the carports.
So in the common areas is where GRF is involved. Mm-hmm. And we do have our M&C committee has a subcommittee that's looking at EV chargers. We're working with Southern California Edison. Mm-hmm. There are government programs. We'd like to say, for this, just using other numbers, want to put in 5 in a clubhouse area. Mm-hmm. But Southern California Edison says, no, you have to put in 10, which is a lot more expensive and takes up more room. Right. And as everybody knows, parking spaces are at a premium in the village, mm-hmm. and therefore to dedicate, if you will, 10 parking spaces makes it a little bit difficult.
Exactly.
So it's an ongoing thing, but we do have feasibility studies going on. We have proposals, and we're looking at government funding, mm-hmm. State funding, mm-hmm. To help us with those. Mm-hmm. And basically it would be clubhouses. Now again, Southern California Edison likes it to be available to the public, which is why we have them outside the community center here. But the only clubhouse that we could use would be Clubhouse 7, because that is open. We don't have a gate there. Right. So there are a lot of things that need to be looked at, and I just want our residents to know we are looking at it. Yeah. We do have committees, and Bert Mejia on our staff is so into it and working every angle to see what we can do. So
that's good. And the big push, of course, not in California, is we're gonna get off gas-powered cars, and we're going to go ahead and go EV cars. Yeah,
but that 2035 date is not that we're going to be rid of gas-powered cars. It's just that they're not going to be selling new ones. But believe me, there will still be a lot of gas-powered cars.
Well, there will be, but a lot of people do feel the pressure now to go ahead and do an EV car. Right. So it'll be interesting to see what the government will provide going forward. There's going to be a lot more programs that they're going to try and help out.
Absolutely, and we are, like I said, Bert Mejia is in on all of those. So he helps guide us through everything that's coming up that's new.
That's great. All right, so you've got a couple of approvals.
Okay, we had a lot of what we call old business. And I'd like to take just a minute to talk about that, because people don't understand that for most of our items, particularly if they include anything with money or any kind of resident-faced rules, they go on what we call 28-day notice. And what that means is, first reading, when it comes up as new business, when we vote on it, we are not voting yay or nay. We are not voting for or against it. We are voting to move it ahead through the 28-day comment period to second reading. The second reading is where we decide yes or no, pro or con. Okay. So I have a lot of people that say, but you voted for it at the last meeting. No, we voted to move it forward.
Right.
So these things were moved forward, and that we have a vehicle replacement policy. Our new General Services Director, Robert Carroll, has done a fabulous job of putting out how we can save money with our vehicles. We have a lot of vehicles, perhaps using leases or used vehicles, etc. So we have a great new vehicle replacement policy.
Okay.
The other big question that we always get, excuse me, is the transfer of surplus funds from the operating fund to the contingency fund. And I know there's been a lot of misinformation that has come out in the globe. Basically, every year, if we have a surplus, and often we do, because budgeting is done in September for the following year, and you don't have a crystal ball, and you don't know what's going to be actual at that time.
Right.
So if we have a surplus, it's transferred to the contingency fund. And what that means for the residents is that we don't budget to put extra money in the contingency fund, which we need to do to keep it up. It's like a savings account. But if we can transfer the surplus over to it, then that cuts their per man or per month dues down because we haven't had to add that to the budget.
Right.
And then they also approved the gardening center rules, and this has
good.
been going on for a number of months and gone back for revision and back to committee, and we've got the 2 gardening groups that have had a lot of input in on it, but from CAC, but we did get those approved.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that came up was the golf fee policy, which has been another thing that has had a lot of resident input. And what we did was we sent it back to the Finance Committee for further financial analysis.
Okay.
What we want to do is to look over the last 5 years and see what we've done, what we haven't done, what we need to do. We do have specific guidelines as to what we can charge under our shared costs, et cetera. So anyway, it did not pass. It went back to the Finance Committee.
So when you say it did not pass, does that mean it goes into the 28 review, or it's not even at that stage yet?
No, it has not. So it goes back to the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee, if they move it forward, or when they move it forward, or however they move it forward, or if it dies in the Finance Committee, then it would go on 28 days. So there's nothing imminent. Of course, none of this was something that would go into effect right away. All of these things, particularly the operating rules and the policies, go into effect January 1st with the new year.
Now, if somebody is concerned about the golf fee policy, evidently you talked about it last week, so then did people show up still expressing concerns about it?
To some extent they did. They came ready to talk about it, but then it's not something, again, just formatting. When we have member comments at the very beginning, it's only for things that are not on the agenda.
Got it.
This was on the agenda. So we had people there who were going to speak on it when it came up, but when it was moved back to the committee, they got up and left.
Okay.
And it's I must say, that's one thing that frustrates me a little when people come in and talk to the board and present something, and then as soon as they're finished, they leave. They don't wait for the answer. They don't wait to see what comes up. So there was a petition. There is a petition, like over 1,000 names, I believe, of people who are saying that the golf fee policy needs to be looked at again. And so that's one of the reasons we sent it back to finance.
Well, that's good. And I wanted people to clearly understand, you know, the process of how that goes, so they don't show up and not be able to say anything.
Now, we are under civil code, and civil code is the one that directs us. If something is just purely administrative, it can either be on the consent calendar or it can be under new business and passed at that meeting. But anything else, particularly if it has anything to do with money or resident rules, et cetera, has to go on 28-day notice. And 28-day notice, folks, is when you have the opportunity to give us your input.
Exactly.
And info@lagunawoodsvillage.org or general manager at
VNSINC.
there.
Perfect.
You can give your input to anything, and that's what we're looking for when we go with the 28-day.
Perfect. Well, thank you for the information. It's nice to see you.
It's good to see you too.
All right. And don't forget that you can always see the GRF board meetings right here on Village Television at 9:30 on the first Tuesday of the month. We'll be right back.